Welcome back to another video. As you can see, if you peek out the windows here, there's still snow on the ground. But I've been thinking a lot more lately about spring fishing, kind of getting excited for warmer weather. And I was digging through some of my footage that I shot last year, and I've got a number of videos that I didn't release that we shot in open water. So now is kind of the time when a lot of you are probably starting to think about open water. So we're gonna release some of those videos over the next coming weeks. So this particular video is going to be about crankbait fishing, and Northland has actually just recently got into the crankbait game, so there's really not a ton of good information online about how to use these baits. So I think that's going to be a priority coming this year, is just getting more good, valuable information to you guys so you can kind of understand how to utilize these tools. But in this particular video, Joel Nelson is going to be breaking down all of the different crankbait options that are in Northland's lineup as of right now. And hopefully this will give you a little clarity on kind of the when and where these baits thrive. And he's gonna start things off with the Rumble Shad.
Shad style baits have been around for a really long time, and for a primary reason, they just flat catch fish. So it really anchors the entire Rumble series line of crankbaits when we start talking about the Rumble Shad from Northland. You can see a whole box of them here, and really the number 5 shad it's kind of the base or the basic model. And that number 5 is so good for so many different things. When we start talking walleyes, this is the bait of baits. And I think of the Rumble Shad as not just a great bait that can be trolled, which is what you think of first when you start talking about a number 5 specifically, but it's a great bait that can be thrown. Especially when we start talking about later into the fall, we start talking about some of the bigger sizes. This number 7 Rumble Shad is an incredible bait to throw up against shallow rocks, up against cover. It will troll all the way down to 12 feet of water or more in some of those mid-level depths, whereas the number 5 is probably gonna cover your 8 to 10 foot range quite well. So it'll cover different depth ranges at a troll, but again, when we start talking about a bait that you can throw, this number 7 just flies and casts really nice in that regard. So don't think of the shad baits as just trolling baits. You can think of them as baits that can be used almost year-round. They can be baits that can be casted as well as trolled. So great ones to think of when we start talking about mimicking any of the many types of minnow species throughout the northern, a lot of the northern states. So go ahead and try out the Rumble Shads, and you can also start thinking about other baits in the series as well that pivot off of the shad.
Speaking of other baits in the series, let's take a closer look at the little guy in the lineup.
So when I think of other baits pivoting off of the shad, I naturally turn to the Rumble Bug. And this bug, it's a cute little bait, but there's a lot more than meets the eye on these things, and that's really important because on all of the balsa baits here in the Rumble series, in the shad, in the bug, and several of the others, you've got this compression molding system which really hardens the outside of the bait and hides a lot of the guts of it, which are really neat, which is this through wire construction. So you get this tiny little bait, but big fish really can't do a lot of damage on this thing because of that through wire construction. It's going to maintain the rigidity and the solidness of the bait, make it tough, and also make those hooks and split rings have a little bit of extra strength and power and stand up to some of the toothy critters that also might hit it. The cool part about this bait is, like I said, it's a cute little guy, right? It's snack size. This is the kind of bait that is not overly obtrusive. It's the kind of bait that isn't going to scare off a lot of types of fish. Maybe you're just on an eaters program for walleyes or sauger, or maybe you're looking to catch a bunch of perch. This is the kind of bait that can be thrown as well. So you can fish shallow for perch in this thing. It does not dive very deep, so if you want to use it for walleyes out in the depths, it's a great bait to tie on for lead cores. So this is one of the more versatile baits in the entire Rumble series, and I really like it because there's not a lot of things that'll be scared off from a Rumble Bug, and this thing works for so many different species, so many different depths, and so many different ways. So go ahead and check out the Rumble Bug.
Now let's get some of Joel's thoughts on the Rumble Shiner.
So another bait in the Rumble series that I think of as just a core holding, something you really need to have as a staple, is this Rumble Shiner. And I'll show you a couple different sizes. This first one is a great big bait, and right away off the top of my head, I start thinking about throwing this. I think about throwing it over the tops of cabbage. I think about throwing it shallower situations. But you can also pull this thing. You can also troll it along some of those depths. And with enough line back, this thing will dive down to the mid depth. So a great kind of double threat bait, again, casting and trolling, but with the longer profile that really mimics, especially this one, this larger size, bigger bait at the end of the season. But the shiner's nice because it comes in a couple different sizes. It comes in this number 8 size, and it comes in some of these smaller sizes like this shiner in the number 7. So you can throw something like this early season, no problem, and definitely mimics exactly what's out there at that time of year and what a lot of the fish are keying in on. So this bait's really nice because of the various sizes, its shape and its length. It's just a really fishy body profile in the shiner that I think goes well in so many different scenarios. This is a hard one not to have in your box just because it really is a versatile jack of all trades.
Now let's take a little bit of a closer look at Northland's stick bait style trolling crankbait, the Rumble Stick.
You know, when I start talking about all the different balsa baits in the Rumble series, this fourth one, this Rumble Stick, really is a neat one because when you get to the summer months and you're talking about walleyes specifically that are in deep water, you need something that gets down to them. And you see the great big bill on this Rumble Stick, and it really does dive and raid the depths. There's a couple different sizes on it. This is the smaller one. This is the number 4. But you can achieve 20 plus feet of depth on the dive on some of these larger stick baits. And it's perfect because when you start talking about midsummer and trophy walleyes especially, these are the baits that are going to catch the bigger fish in the system. A lot of those bigger trophy fish are after tulipy. They're chasing after large bait fish. They have no problem with something this size, and specifically this color and a lot of the colors and color schemes that come in the Rumble Stick and the rest of the Rumble series are just good fishy colors. So I think there's a lot of reasons to love this bait, but if you're fishing in the summertime and you're fishing deeper water, you're fishing some of those suspended fish or fish along the bottom and a lot of the trophy systems, your Lake of the Woods, your Mille Lacs, your Leech Lake, Winnies, and beyond, something like the Rumble Stick and this bait specifically in this color is just a wonderful, wonderful pattern to mimic a lot of those larger tulipes and really turn the bite on.
Now, some of you probably remember a video that we posted last spring that was me, Brad Hawthorne, and one of our buddies out chasing walleyes on Lake Erie, and we were trolling, of course. And our go-to bait for that particular trip was the Rumble Stick, and we did pretty well. We caught a good number of fish. Our go-to best color was actually Sneeze, which is this really neat color with green and chartreuse, and well, you can probably see it right now on the screen. But yeah, that's been a really cool bait for trolling, especially in deeper water. But now Joel's gonna wrap the video up talking about a crankbait that's just a little bit different, or maybe a decent bit different from every other bait in the Northland lineup.
So this is the 5th entry to the fray. This in the Rumble series is the Rumble B, and it's really interesting to me because it has a lot of the characteristics of the Rumble Stick, kind of the long minnow shape to it. It's a little bit thicker in the center, a little bit like the shiner. And so, like the line tie and the shiner, it is right out the point of the bait. It's not on the front of the lip like on the stick. So you've got kind of this tweener bait situation already. And I'm thinking about tweener situations. I'm thinking about mid-level depths. I'm thinking about 15 to 20 feet of water, or even deeper, obviously, on lead core and beyond. But when we're talking about the Rumble B, the really interesting part of it is not just the fact that it covers some of those missing depth ranges and missing sizes. It's ABS plastic construction. So this is a bait that's very different from those balsa baits. It's got a different wiggle, it's got a different feel, and it's also got this knocker inside. So this is really key. Now you've got a bait that dives to those mid-level depths, can get deeper, also has that toughness that you just come to love from that ABS plastic, but also has that noise-making capability, really allowing you to rattle them up. I think of big basin scenarios. I think of deep water. I think of turbid systems in deep water where these fish are kind of holed up. And reaction strikes are the name of the game. You also see these big bright colors. You pair those bright colors, You pair pulling this bait in the depths of the fish are at, and you add that kind of searching component, that ability for the fish to feel this in their lateral line and come hunt this thing down. You've really got a winner in the Rumble Bee. And for folks that just want a different look and feel from balsa, and they want to see how that wiggle is a little bit different, this is something to put in your trolling spread that's going to give you a different look and feel. And this might end up being your secret weapon bait for the rest of the day. And so many times, if you're a troller, you know it can just take a different look, a different color, a different feel, a different wiggle. And given the characteristics and the parameters of the Rumble Bee, this is kind of that difference maker that you can add to your setup to really help turn fish on in those scenarios.
Well, that about wraps things up for this video. Hopefully you're able to take some of the info that Joel shared and have more success crankbait fishing in 2022 and beyond. So if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below. So we have a lot more content coming in future months. Open water is just about here. It's just about time for springtime fishing in at least in my neck of the woods. So I'm super excited, and I will see you in the next video.